If the Sun Devils plan to win any more games this year, and hopefully they will, this is the outline they should follow. We'll talk about it in this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. As always, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you get your podcast, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. You can stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter. You can find me at RichieBrads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Before we get started, this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about more than a player being a perfect fit. It's the same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit, ebay.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Here's where we're at. These Sun Devils have shown that they are capable of winning football games. We saw it week 1 against Southern Utah. We saw it week 2 against Oklahoma State, a game they probably should have won. And we saw it this past weekend against USC when Kenny Dillingham took over the play calling duties, and suddenly everything started clicking. Now that everything is clicking, at least after 1 week, we got to play it by ear. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everything's perfect. That would be very, very irresponsible on my part. However, it does feel like you're trending in that right direction. So you need to make sure that you continue to go in that right direction. In order to do that, I've got 3 main points that we need to talk about to create this formula to end up winning the rest of the year, whether it's 2 games or 5 games. This is what we're going to be discussing on this edition of the podcast. So you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, if you're on YouTube, the 3 points. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and dive into it. The first thing here is maintaining continuity on offense. There's a lot of different things that goes into maintaining continuity. The first thing, which this is very unlikely to happen, is figuring out what's going on at the quarterback spot. Because we are now facing a team that is going to be without Drew Pine for the foreseeable future, and Trenton Bourguet will be back for the Sun Devils under center this week. So there's not going to be any continuity at the quarterback spot. It feels like musical chairs is the way I've described it to some people. It's like musical chairs. Like, it's just constantly changing. It was Jaden Rashada the first 3 weeks. Then week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks. We're on a 4. 2 weeks. Final answer. First 2 weeks was Jaden Rashada. Third week, rotation of 3 guys. Last week, Drew Pine. There you go. Because we're 4 games in. Yeah, it was a big old rotation of guys. Now Trenton Bourguet is going to be back out. We'll see what ends up happening there. But beyond the quarterbacks, because there's just not going to be continuity there, what you need is the rest of the team to step up. And by that, you need your superstars to be superstars. Cameron Skattebo has shown the ability to be a superstar. We're going to need to rely on him quite a bit. This doesn't mean he needs to be a 100-yard rusher every game. This doesn't mean he needs to score a touchdown every game. But what we need out of him is to be one of the key cogs in the offense and one of the guys that's able to get the ball moving on the ground. You can figure out how to do that. You're going to be in a lot of games this year. So maintaining that kind of consistency through the ground game is going to be able to open up everything else. You have a guy on the ground who can churn out tough yards. You're not going to see defenses that are going to play 7 deep and only rush 4. Like, you're going to see a much more balanced defense that is trying to keep the running game under wraps. And the Sun Devils have guys beyond Skattebo. They've got DeCarlos Brooks, who should be coming back very, very soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You've got Kyson Brown. There's, for what it's worth, there's George Hart and Tevin White, who haven't seen the field that much, but there are guys here that are able to do some stuff with the run game. Hopefully that is a continued trend. Trenton Bourguet is not the most mobile guy in the world, but he is somebody who can make some plays. I'm not relying on him, and I'm not counting on him to be one of the go-to runners, but I would love to be pleasantly surprised by that. Next up, looking at your pass catchers. You've got three potential superstars. And I say superstar loosely. Don't come at me. You've got Elijhah Badger, who for all intents and purposes is one of the best kept secrets in the Pac-12. He is going to be one of the most important players to this offense. Like outside of Skattebo, I would tell you Badger is probably the second most important player on this offense because he's going to be the number one receiver. He's going to be someone that you expect to attack all three levels of the field. You want him to be the guy that can get up and get those 50-50 balls. You want him to be able to make the acrobatic catches, but you also want him to be someone who can move the sticks and just be a reliable guy. So, like, if you get him the ball at the line of scrimmage or 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, you're hoping that he's able to make some plays after that and turn short gains into big gains. He's going to be the quarterback's best friend, whether that's Bourget, Pine, or Conover. At this point, I don't know if we should expect Rashada back, but crazier things have happened. No matter who's throwing the ball, you need a consistent, reliable number one receiver. That, in theory, is Badger. Then you have Jalin Conyers, another very important key to the offense and one of the guys who has that super explosive upside here that you're really looking forward to having and potentially being that X factor for you. We've seen him come alive before. In fact, at this time last year was about when he started turning into the monster that he was. He's had a slow-ish start to the year, 11 catches for 139 yards. Over the course of 3 games, he did miss the Fresno State game. With him on the field, you have a player who is just so dynamic because of the size, because of the deceptive speed, because of the pass catching radius that he has. With all of that together, you should have one of the best tight ends in the conference. Somebody who can be a big time difference maker. You couple him with Elijhah Badger, you have a very dynamic pass catching duo. But then you add Xavier Guillory, the last guy I wanted to mention here. With Guillory, he could be your number one receiver. I truly believe that. I know last week he got blanked. I don't really think that was on him. He had 5 targets, and most of them, if not all of them, were not really balls that would normally be catchable for many guys. So Guillory was a victim of circumstance last week. I do not anticipate that to be the case moving forward. I anticipate him to be one of the more consistent players on the offense. And especially when you've got Elijhah Badger lined up across from him, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities. He's going to get a lot of chances to go up and make those big plays. So when you've got an established number one receiver, a number 2 receiver who could be your number 1, not saying a high-end one, but he could be a 1. You got a game-breaking tight end, and you've got a running back who should be able to maintain and dictate the pace of the offense. You've got a lot of guys that are going to be able to get some stuff done for you. So from here, it's going to be about having that continuity between those guys and making sure that they are able to provide that kind of consistency for you. Because if you're able to get that out of them, then this offense is going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be able to score points, and that's going to win you football games, especially when you got a defense that has been playing very, very well. And we're going to talk about them in just a minute. But the bottom line here is the offense has way too many weapons to not be one of the biggest threats on the team and one of the biggest strengths. Hopefully, if they're able to maintain that consistency, we can end up seeing that continuity that helps you win a lot of football games. If you love the convenience of getting what you want right at the door, then you got to use DoorDash grocery delivery because you can stock up for the week or order last-minute cravings conveniently. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy the quality groceries just like you picked them up yourself. Want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a DoorDash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer service, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it. Get 50% off your DoorDash order up to $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and $0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONCollege. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. If you guys are looking for the best place to find your up-to-the-minute college kickoff coverage, then you got to check out the Locked On College Football Kickoff live every Friday. Locked On goes live from, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, conference rivalry games, and go in-depth like only Locked On can, including insights and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. Let's go ahead and get back into our conversation, taking a look at the defensive side of the football now. There's a lot of things you need. And I didn't want to make a super blanket statement. I didn't want to say like, oh, they got to continue to be a good unit. They got to continue to do lots of teamwork, communication, stuff like that. That feels too easy. I also didn't want to say that you need to get turnovers because as of right now, the Sun Devils have a fumble recovery. They have one fumble recovery from Tate Romney, and that was on a botched handoff. Outside of that, they're not forcing any turnovers. So I can't sit here and say, oh, you got to force turnovers because they're not doing that right now. What they are doing right now is getting after the passer. And that's something that you need to continue to see out of the team. Through 4 games, they've got 11 sacks. You're averaging almost 3 a game. Also consider they had 0 sacks in week 1. So over the last 3 games, they've got 11 sacks. So it's almost 4 a game. They're doing a really good job getting after the passer. And you've got some guys who have really started to stand out. Prince Dorbah leads the team with 3.5. BJ Green has 3. You saw they're getting the secondary involved. Ro Torrance, Shamari Simmons, Josiah Cox. You're getting Trey Brown involved. Deshaun Mallory was able to get in the backfield. You need the rest of the team to step up as well. You've got some guys that, in theory, should be really, really good players, like Clayton Smith, former 5-star guy, transfers to Arizona State. He's just had trouble staying on the field. Week 1, he got ejected for a really crappy targeting call. 2 weeks, for the last 2 weeks, he's been banged up. Hopefully he gets back to 100% soon. If he does, I 100% think that Clayton Smith is going to be a big-time difference maker for you. At this point, I don't really know production-wise, but like if you got 5 sacks out of him, you would be thrilled with that. Either way, you just want the rest of the guys to be able to pick up the slack if Clayton's just not 100% healthy. Dorbah and Green, outstanding edge rushing combo right now. Definitely want to see that continue. You have to love that the secondary is getting involved as well because that creates more creativity from your pass rush. You're able to line guys up in different positions and make it so that opposing offenses are going to have a little bit more trouble figuring out what you're trying to do on the defense. There's a lot of guys here to be able to use too, especially in the front 7. You've got guys that can rotate in, and now you've got Anthony Cooper's back in the lineup. Maybe he can create something from the interior, but he's also a guy who can flex outside. Michael Matus has still been a good role player for them. Obviously, he's not on the field as much, but he's good depth. My guy, CJ Fight, is back in the lineup. I feel like he's going to be able to get some sacks here, hopefully pretty soon. I would love to see the linebackers continue to get involved. Trey Brown has a half sack. I would love to see him. Tate Romney has been a very good standout player for the team. Feel like he can get involved. there's all sorts of different players here that are finding ways to contribute to the pass rush. One of the things that I really believe in from here is Brian Ward. And I think Brian Ward is just doing a great job with the defense this year. It feels like a night and day difference from what we saw last year. And I know a lot of people will point to the scoreboard and be like, oh, well, the lowest total he gave up was 21 points, and that was to Southern Utah. And I would tell you, this isn't necessarily a defensive problem. It's a lot more to do with the offense and the struggles that they have had to be able to have sustained drives that gets the defense off the field, that gets the defense a chance to catch their breath. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But what the defense is doing is very, very good. Yeah, you do need turnovers. Absolutely. But if you're not going to be able to create turnovers, right? If you end this year with less than 10 turnovers, which is a very real possibility, what you need is your pass rush to be able to come alive. And the pass rush has shown that they can do that. So you get your pass rush to continue to provide that kind of production for you, you're going to be just fine. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback. They're going to get big sacks. They're going to create second and longs, third and longs, and just put teams behind schedule, way behind the sticks. That forces punts if you're able to hold down. And that's another thing. You know, you need the guys to be able to bite down when it does come to the third and longs and whatnot, because they have been susceptible to giving those up. You figure that out, though, you're in a really good situation. This pass rush has shown that they can get the job done. There's multiple guys that have been able to provide that kind of production for you. You just need that to be a continual source of production for you. They can figure that out. You're going to be in very good hands for the rest of the year moving forward. It's going to be able to mask some of the, some of the inefficiencies, I guess, that the rest of the offense, or the rest of the defense, I should say, may not be able to provide for you. So hopefully they're able to continue to put that together. Again, if they can put that together, you have to feel pretty good about their chances to be able to mask their weaknesses, move forward, and be a great unit that we know they can be. Guys, getting your, what's it called? Let's try again. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure that you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off of these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical using the code LOCKEDON at checkout on jacemedical.com. That's Jace, Jase, medical.com to get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today. Let's go ahead and wrap up this podcast. But again, wherever you're getting your podcast, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Final piece of the formula here to be able to win football games. You need this coaching prowess to continue. We'll start defensively. I mentioned Brian Ward. He's been outstanding. He has been coaching these guys up big time. And the assistants deserve some love as well. You know, Vince Amy and Brian Carrington have been able to get these guys coached up as well. They're playing very good football right now, and you hope that they're able to continue being those kind of pillars for your team to build around. The defense is able to continue to hold up their end of the bargain. They're going to get off the field. They're going to give the offense more opportunities. Hopefully the turnovers increase, but the bottom line is the defense has been called very well by Ward and the rest of his assistant coaching staff. You just need that to continue. Offensively, you're hoping and praying that Kenny Dillingham continues to be the main playing caller for this team. they have taken so many strides forward from where we saw them the first 3 weeks. In just 1 week, you saw this offense completely open up the playbook. You saw the offense start to really move forward and gather itself as a unit. You want that to be the continued progression here. This offense has way too many weapons to not be a threat to opposing defenses, no matter how talented they are. And I mean that with all my heart. I mentioned earlier, you have a great running back, you have a great tight end, you have 2 number 1 receivers. When you have those 4 things at your disposal, you should be able to move the ball. I don't care who it's against. I don't care if it's against Utah. There's no reason you can't move the ball. I'm not saying you're going to score 50 points a game. I'm not saying you're going to score 30 points a game. But you should be able to keep defenses off balance. You should be able to have sustained drives. You should be able to give your defense a chance to breathe, a chance to catch up and feel like their end of the bargain is being met by the offense's end of the bargain. With Dillingham calling the shots, you feel very positive that they can find that progression and that they can continue to be a really good output for your team. You've got the guys. I just want to reiterate that. You've got 4 guys who, by the end of the year, could be, at worst, like honorable mention Pac-12 guys. You've got, in my opinion, the best tight end in the conference. You've got 2 of the best kept secrets at receiver. And you've got a running back who is really starting to gain some big-time momentum. People are noticing him. What you need now is the play calling to be consistent, especially when you consider what's going on at the quarterback spot. Because without the continuity at the quarterback position, the rotation that you have between Pine, between Bourguet, potentially Rashada if he does return, with all that in mind, it's going to be very difficult to establish that continuity, which is where you need the play calling to be able to step up. This is where Kenny Dillingham comes into play even more so than ever before, is finding a way to play to the strengths of these different guys. Bourguet brings a much different set of qualities than Drew Pine does. And Drew Pine brings many different qualities than Rashada and Conover. So whoever's at quarterback, it's going to be important that you find a way to be able to incorporate these guys' different strengths, understand these guys' weaknesses and their limitations, and then move forward from there. So you're already going to be looking at a different offensive structure this week because you've got Bourguet instead of Pine. Bourguet has shown the ability to be a good quarterback. You just need to be able to scheme this kid. You need to be able to get everybody playing to where you feel good enough that he's going to be able to put up enough production that you can win games. That's where you need to be at right now. So you need to use your weapons, have that continuity between those top 4 guys, and make life easier. This also comes back to the play calling for Kenny Dillingham, for Bo Baldwin, for whoever is helping call the offense. Defensively, get that pass rush up, make sure that they're still doing their job and holding up their end of the bargain, and have Brian Ward continue to call really good games. You have all of those things go together for you. I truly think that you've got a handful of wins left in the year. Maybe you can beat Cal, U of A, Colorado. Those are the games I'm looking at. Maybe an upset hidden in there. I don't know. Maybe they don't win any more games. But you get these 3 components into a good rhythm for your team. You are going to be in games and you're going to win games. I promise you that. What are you guys looking forward to the rest of the year? How do you think Bourguet is going to handle the starting role this week against Cal? What do you think of everything that I brought up? Let me know in the comments, or you can hit me up at Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36 and a podcast as well at LO_Sun. I thank you guys as always for tuning in. Wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I will see you guys tomorrow as we begin breaking down the California game coming up this weekend. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked